this is the second regular in February 2019. The date or the time is 5:03, and I'll call the meeting to order. Roll call.
We'll call the roll. Mr. Genowine is not here yet. Mr. Mahoney?
Here.
Mr. Crandall?
Here.
Simcoe, here.
Next is the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item on the agenda is approval of the minutes. I'll move approval of February 5th regular meeting.
Second?
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes. Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes for February 8th. That was a special meeting.
That, Dave, just, if you don't mind me interrupting, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I wasn't there for that, so do we need two on that?
We probably do need two.
Yeah,
Well, you can actually vote for it. I mean, you know, but go on.
That's fine.
Did you have a chance to read them over?
Let's push.
We can put on the next meeting.
What's that?
We can put on the next
Yeah,
meeting.
just push it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please.
Okay.
Okay,
All
yeah.
right, thanks.
All right, let's move on. Any additions or deletions to the agenda?
I have one addition under executive session where we go into personnel. We have police department, and I also like to have administration.
So there's three items.
Yeah.
What's the third? There's administration.
Administration for personnel and police department personnel, and then imminent court action possible.
Okay.
Okay, that's the only change to the agenda. Next is the badge pinning, fire department.
Hey, Chris.
Good evening.
We'll call up probationary firefighter Aaron Kale and probationary firefighter Stephen Sutherland. Okay, please raise your right hands. And I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will obey and support the Constitution of the United States of America, the laws and revised code of the state of Ohio, the established laws and ordinance within Sylvania Township, and the rules and regulations of the Sylvania Township Fire Department, that I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially discharge the duties of the position of firefighter paramedic according to all governance therein, to the best of my ability. I take and subscribe this oath before the Board of Trustees and the Sylvania Township Fire Chief this 19th day of February 2019. And then we'll call forward Jacob, Aaron's son. You can put your arms down. And Emily, Stephen's wife.
Come on up. Come on, more the merrier. It's like homecoming. Exactly.
As long as it's on there,
Yes.
that's fine.
All right, new clips.
So, turn them up there. Adjust.
Okay.
Ready?
Yep.
Congratulations, fellas.
All right, way to go, guys. Good job, young man.
Chief, if you'd like to step out and take pictures or anything, feel free to.
You want me to do mine now?
All we need to do is resolution.
Oh, you want, yeah, do your resolution, then we'll take the break. Do we have any comments for
No.
items on the agenda?
No one has showed, no.
Okay, go ahead, chief.
Okay. I just have one resolution, 19-025. It's to reject the bids received for the regional radio grant. Both parties that bid on the grant did not follow the bid specs that were out. So technically, we have to reject them to be able to post new ones to get a second bid on them. So that's what
Is
this
that
is.
your intent then to follow up later?
What's that?
Is that your intent, follow up?
Actually, we have everything already written. Now we just need to do this so we can post it. We have to post it for another 14 days again. And I'm sure both of them will rebid since they figured out they didn't bid properly the first time. But I brought the bid specs if anyone has any questions about why we rejected them or anything tonight, so.
So would they intentionally not, would they intentionally?
No, I don't think they
Do they
read it
know what the number
properly.
is?
No, they have the number, but per FEMA, if you're asking for 55 radios, but you have $3.2 million, you can't say, we'll give you 22 radios for $3.2 million. It has to be the amount of radios, and then they have to come as close to the amount, and then we have the right to accept it and then fill in the rest of the money to make the bid. That's the way FEMA operates, so.
I'll offer resolution 1905 to reject the bids for the regional grant.
Second?
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Thank you.
Now we
Thanks,
can
Mike.
take a break if you'd
Yeah.
like. Next, I think, wasn't next the road?
Yeah, Rob.
Rob.
Thanks for coming, folks. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good evening. I've got two items on the agenda. The first one was a petition submitted to me from residents on Laredo Road. This is a stub road, dead-end road off of Whiteford, right across from the Whiteford Greenhouse. The petition was for no parking signs. These would have been permanent signs, regulatory signs that are required by the Board of Trustees to approve. In the petition, I'll just give you a quick synopsis, that the petitioners state that there was signs there before. He goes back to somewhere near Halloween of 2002. I researched to the best of my ability to find the signs. All historical pictures only date back to 2011 that are worth, that you can see. And as of 2011, there were no signs installed. The petitioner states that there were signs and that some of the residents removed them. I also did a search as best I could on all historical records for previous administrations that would have approved the installation of those signs. I found none. It does require a resolution for those to be effective, so police can write their citations if needed. Also, the petitioner, there was 14 residents on the lot, or 14 residential lots, addresses. I have signatures from 5 of those. multiple signatures from the same residents. So it's my recommendation not to install them. The road department, as far as I know, the fire department and the police department have not contacted me with any issues regarding any issues with people parking on the road down there. In the past, we had issues with people parking on the corner, and there is a no parking sign installed on the corner. It's about 100 feet just west of Whiteford on Laredo, and that was due to, vendors or patrons of the Whiteford Greenhouse parking over there and then crossing Whiteford. It was a hazard and a danger, and the resident who lived there. And there is a resolution for that. So my recommendation is to take no action and not install the no parking signs. I think it doesn't add any value to it. We do have, if you scroll down a little bit further, there should be a attachment for, be the next one. We do have a parking ordinance that was approved. As far as I'm aware, it's still in effect, unless it has been rescinded by a previous board. That would cover parking on non-approved parking areas. So some of the pictures the petitioner submitted, the cars were parked half in a driveway, half on a yard. I believe our ordinance would cover that. And any other issues as far as parking in front of a hydrant. So my recommendation is to take no action, but it was presented to me, given to me, but it was for the board's vision, so I just want to make sure you were aware of
Question
it.
for Mr. Nash. Is that 18 foot right on the petition? I just didn't remember that street being that wide. Petition says 18 feet.
I would believe it's 18 feet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's easily two car widths plus. Our trucks go down there regularly with trailers, leaf pickers and plows, and I've had no issues or complaints, not to say we won't in the future, but currently there are I think some residential disputes going on between residents, maybe there's some renters involved as well that don't actually own the homes. So, if you don't want to take any action, my recommendation is not to. We'll move on to the next item.
You okay?
Sounds good.
Okay, resolution
The next time.
19-029, authorization to reject all bids for the upfit of one international chassis. Reviewed all the bids that were open February 5th. I discussed the bids and the discrepancies in the bids with council, and his recommendation was to just go ahead and reject all the bids and either proceed with state cooperative purchase agreement or any other cooperative purchase agreement that we're a member with, such as Sourcewell, which is from the NJPA.
Any questions? I'll move approval of resolution 19-029, authorization to reject all bids for the upfit of truck.
Second.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Thanks, Rob.
Administrator?
Yes, my first item on the agenda is approving of the 2019 funding for outside agencies. You received the packets last week, or maybe 2 weeks ago. At this time, we'd like to decide on the funding for those agencies. And
Have you had a chance to look?
I did, yeah.
I'll tell you my thinking and then
Okay.
hear your thinking. Savannah Family Services, that's a good group, but we held in the same last year. Remember, we changed directors. They asked for 20,000. I'd be comfortable with 14. Lucas County Soil and Water, they kept their application same as last year, $750. Savannah Community Arts Commission, they've been They requested 3,000, which they received last year. I'm comfortable with that. SCAD asked for 7,000. Previously, we gave them 6,000. I'm suggesting 6,750, and the chamber did not make a request this year. That totals 24,500. I didn't look up the budget, but I think we have
Yes,
more than that in the
yes.
budget. So it should, budget-wise, it should be fine.
Make a motion.
Sammy, did you get all those numbers?
Yep.
Okay.
I got a copy, Sammy.
Okay.
I'll move to approve the 2019 community funding request as I outlined.
Second?
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
My next item is Resolution 19026. It's authorized pay rates for non-union personnel. We discussed this last meeting in executive session, and this is the resolution with those figures.
I'll offer Resolution 1906 to authorize the pay rates for non-union personnel.
Second?
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Simko?
Yes, I have several resolutions. Resolution 19-030, resolution of the Board of Trustees of Sylvania Township, Lucas County, Ohio, to renew its active deposits of monies to eligible. And basically, we deposit our monies at, we're authorized Waterford, Signature, and Fifth Third, I believe. There are no changes, and Star Bank, or Star Ohio, I forget exactly what it's called now, but I'd recommend, this is where we put basically our active deposits like payroll money, any income that comes in, our daily funds and that. And so we work with these banks.
I'll offer Resolution 19030 to renew the active deposits to the appropriate institutions.
Second?
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
I have resolution number 19-031. This resolution of the Board of Trustees of Sylvania Township, Lucas County, Ohio, to renew its interim deposits of monies to eligible financial institutions. And really what this involves is our investment monies. You know, and you each have sat on the investment committee, and we have monies in certain approved banks that the townships approve. Not that they can't expand. We have invested in other banks before, but we would have to bring that before the trustees.
I'll move Resolution 19031, resolution of the Board of Trustees, Sylvania Township, to renew its interim deposits of money to eligible financial institutions.
Second?
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
We have resolution 19-032, and it pertains to additional appropriations needed for ambulance, EMS, and fire fund, mainly due to implementation of operative IQ software for narcotic tracking and new Quint fire apparatus and mobile radio for a new ambulance.
I'll offer Resolution 19032, township appropriation from encumbered balance.
Second?
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
And resolution 19-033, and that pertains to establishment of a new fund, 240, a special assessment for Lakota and Young Men's Christian Association.
Sorry,
Yes.
Do we know, can you give us some explanation?
This, I can do that. This is
Port Authority?
yeah, the Port Authority.
He said it.
they were in here last month.
Yeah, and they talked about.
I got it.
The assessments will go toward paying the bonds.
Yeah.
The energy
It's not out of our
efficient.
pocket,
No.
it's a pass-through.
It comes through us and we pay.
Yeah, okay. Thank
I
you.
move Resolution 19033 to establish Fund 240 Special Assessment Fund.
Second?
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
And lastly, resolution 19-034 to establish new revenue and expense accounts within the special assessment in EMS ambulance funds and appropriate monies. They mostly pertain to our EMS and the special assessment fund 240 that we just created. And this relates to our new ambulance.
I'll move resolution 19034 to establish new revenue and expense accounts within the special assessment and EMS ambulance fund and appropriate monies.
Second.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
That's all I have.
Do we have anybody signed up for non-agenda items? Okay. Well, we'll move on to open discussion and reports. Fire Department?
Good afternoon again. You have your copy, you've had a chance to look over the monthly report. First page is actually pictures of the new apparatus that's at number 3. That's the new Quintus engine ladder. That will be going in service in a couple of weeks, where it's going over to Cleveland to have some mounting boards and stuff put in it, that like we did with engine 61. So that'll be done by the end of this week. We got most of the training's all done on it, so it'll be ready as soon as it gets back from the Cleveland area. Page 2, we had some anniversaries. Actually, the 2 gentlemen that we just pinned, one of them replaced Darrell at the top there. Darrell retired, and we had another young man quit, took a position somewhere else that he felt was better for him, so I tried talking him out of it, but he had already made up his mind. He was going where he decided to go to. Page 3, after working on this for several days, when I met with Mr. Crandall a couple months ago, we looked at this and tried to make it so it was a little more accessible and easier to read. So this used to be on like 4 pages, so we put it down to 1 page, and it has side-by-side comparisons 2018 and 2019. So it makes it a little easier when you're looking for numbers. And then at the bottom of the page, and then is the transports. So I tried to get it all on 1 page. I know this report was starting to get a little lengthy, so we sat down and tried to come up with a better way so that it made it a little easier for you guys to see the numbers. So, and as you see in the transports, in 2018, we had a total of 44 transports, and we had almost 200 and some in 19 just for January. So, next page would be page 5. That's the patient dispositions. And you notice that's, again, our numbers are way up for treated and transported by this EMS unit, which is our transport unit. The other ones are life squads and private ambulances that assisted us. Page 6, community risk reduction. Mike and firefighter paramedic Hillard have been really busy over January. We tried to get some of the bigger box stores done and out of the way. The picture on the bottom was the morning that it was like 70 below zero. The guys were out twice on the expressway for fires. Page 7 is our fire training bureau. We did hire the 5 new part-time firefighters, and they finished phase 1 of the recruit academy. As a matter of fact, the young lady, Andrea, was here with the guys tonight. She's one of our new part-time people. All officers and acting lieutenants conducted the BWC supervisor training, which we have to do every year. Page 8 is actually a couple of pictures of their recruit school, with them going through some of the maneuvers that they needed to do. Page number 9 goes into our overtime, and as you'll notice, under general staff and contributing factors, there's 127 hours there under bad weather. I ordered back an extra engine for the 3 days that it was really bad out. I knew if we were going to be out, the guys needed a little bit of support in having an extra engine, and so that's why the numbers are up a little bit there. And then next 3 pages are thank yous, and actually the thank you on page 10, what you'll see there is a 35-year-old cardiac arrest patient that we had walked out of the hospital with no neurologic deficits. Coming up in March, we will be doing a presentation. The 35-year-old gentleman and his family want to come in and thank the guys, so we've got it all set up, and we'll be getting information to Sammy so we can get it on the agenda in March. So, and really, that's all I have. If anybody has any questions for me?
No, I don't.
Just one, Chief.
Yes, sir.
The transports are way up, but we're still contacting private sector first.
Yes, sir.
Boy, those are really good.
Yeah.
And the timing is much better.
And I was at a consortium meeting today for Indiana, Ohio, and Michigan. Everybody's seeing the numbers of private ambulances, transports way down. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but to hear it's in Indiana and Ohio and Michigan today was like, okay, so we're not the only ones having trouble with that, so. Okay?
Thank you, Chief.
Sure.
Fiscal report?
Well, I think it'll be up in a moment, but we basically are just really looking at January of 19. But after 1 month, I think that, we're really doing well. I mean, we're right in line with where I think we should be.
We gotta rotate it,
Yeah. And so I think that
It's hard
there's really
for
not much
me
else to
to
really say on
look
this.
upside
It's very
down.
early. So that's all I have.
So we look pretty well, it's pretty early.
It's awfully early, but
questions?
I think we look good on it.
Okay, thank you, Dave.
Uh-huh.
Police report?
All right, page 3, if you do that, I'm on just the numbers there. Early in the year, it's all pretty much what it has been. We're usually in the neighborhood of 1,200 or so calls for service, so, page 3, there you go. And we're holding steady with that, up, about 250 from last year, but since I've been here, it seems to usually be around that 1,200 or so a month. The one number, just don't panic, it jumps out at you, the burglary and breaking and entering, 7 in January and 1. Well, that was what I talked about late January. We had that burglary series at the beginning of January, so 4 of those are attributed to that, which we made the arrest on that individual, so it's not as glaring as it looks, so, we're good there, and I think 2 others were known suspects, so that's not a big number, because we did make that arrest, and Mr. Winston is still in jail, so that's good. And if we're waiting, the U.S. Attorney said there's one Supreme Court case pending right now, they're waiting for that, and if all goes well and they get the ruling they want, Mr. Winston will probably be looking at a 15-year mandatory for being in possession of that gun and gotten this, so that'd be great. Also, during that month, just, which is kind of unusual, actually, since I've been here, it's the first month, we actually got 3 guns off of suspects during the month of January. I think prior to that, in my almost year here, we hadn't come across any. Well, we had a big month. 2 of the 3, the U.S. Attorney is able to take. The third guy that we got that was later in the month that was following somebody and threatening him with a gun at the Speedway, we got him and recovered the weapon. He unfortunately didn't meet the federal guidelines, but we've charged him with the felonies. He was still a felon in possession of a gun, just didn't quite meet the federal guidelines, so. But yeah, we got 3 guns this month, so that's, always got to stay heads up. You never know what's going on out there. But we did well on it. The officers did a nice job. And the only other thing jumping out at you there a little bit, if you see the overtime numbers, and I think that's page 15, just some of that was, like the detectives' numbers were inflated, but that was because we utilized them as well as some road guys for the series, when we put the unmarks out for that series, and like I said, in 2 days we were able to get them, so that's the only reason there was a little spike there in that overtime. And the only other thing I'll mention, because they just had 2 new ones, and we had 2 new ones last meeting. Our 2 new guys are doing very well, as we had expected. They had some really good prior experience. We have a field training meeting on this Friday, and already they're well ahead of the curve, so they'll be very successful. We've got one, because Sergeant Judge retired January 31st, so we've got to replace his position. We have one guy now we're throwing the offer out to, and we're waiting for the results of his psych and his physical, so hopefully in another couple of weeks we'll be able to get him started. So we'll have that replacement hire done, so that's where we're at. Any questions?
Neil? Thanks, Chief.
Thanks, Paul.
Monthly report for the road department.
I'll go last today. All right, good evening. February report for January. End of the month, we were still picking up leaves right at the end there, last couple of days of January. We did a lot of cleanup and equipment, stuff like that. You can see our January overtime. I don't normally put overtime on my report, but because of the numbers, I thought it was appropriate. We had 481.69 hours in January. There was just hellacious month, a lot of little ice and snow control issues. Compared to last year, we only had 150, so it was quite a bit of overtime. And fortunately or unfortunately, however you want to look at it, budget-wise, most of it was on Sundays. So the guys really didn't mind coming in, but it did impact us a little bit. We did estimate about 800 tons of salt distributed, and we hauled some snow out. We batched about 13,000 gallons of brine. If you guys read the article today in the Blade, that is not the same type of brine that the Blade was referring to. We use a homemade batcher that we make ourselves, which is just a solution of salt. What they're referring to is aquasaline. It's a byproduct of wells, pumping gas wells. So we don't use that in the township. We've never used it. It's a relatively new product, so I guess the word is still out on the use of it, but it is highly effective. It's just more corrosive and something we've never purchased. Other than that, we ran our Christmas tree collection disposal area, and we did our locates, did some regular maintenance in the fleet maintenance service department. We continue to work on some of the builds. A couple of them went out, and we still got 2 in-house to finish up. We did some training. We sent a couple guys to some trenching safety, OSHA competent person training, and some burning training, and Navistar training. That's computer-based training. Next page is just the list of our projects for the year. You'll see these throughout the year. I'll keep you updated on. They're just the major ones that the department is going to manage or ongoing throughout the year. So if there's no questions on any of those, that's all I have.
Any questions?
I'm good.
You might, I'm not sure, are you aware of Holt Road, they had a preliminary meeting? It's going good.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks for bringing that up, John.
All right, the next item on the agenda is executive session. I'll make a motion to go into executive session pending or intimate court action for the administration, personnel, police department, and administration, that was personnel. Also, that was an add-on. And I'll do that at 5:34.
Dick Malone will be here between 5:30 and 5:45 with Malone out in Farrell. He'll be a part of our meetings, if you could just maybe keep an eye out for him.
That's a good idea to mention who's...
Yeah, I'll second, yeah.
And you'll be joining us too, won't you?
Yes.
Jim?
With Jim?
Legal counsel will be there.
Okay.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Call the roll, Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Movie series, and it talks about the gangs of, up at Angelo's, and the gangs, Licavoli, and the Kennedys, and the Pinciottis.
Well,
You know, all the names.
Kevin can be
Got the tape on.
Kevin can be with
Just okay, just
Okay,
okay.
he'll talk, yeah, we'll wait till it's over.
All right, I'll move to come out of executive session at 6:35.
Second?
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes. And I'll move resolution 19-035, approve the report and recommendations of the police chief Long to reorganize Sylvania Township Police Department.
Second?
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
I'll have to make a motion to adjourn at 6:36.
Second?
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes. All right.